every February or March, we get a new C3i Magazine, and that's always very exciting because it contains so many wargame goodies, here and there, counters and scenarios for existing games and complete new games as well. And this year is no exception. C3i number 37. And I think this might be the most jam-packed C3i magazine that we have gotten maybe ever. Obviously, the articles and stuff are really cool, but I think today, instead of going through what's in the magazine from an article standpoint, which are really worthwhile and really cool, especially if you like Empire of the Sun, I feel like the last 5 C3Is have had like really big features in Empire of the Sun. As someone who doesn't really like that game, it's mystifying, but I understand that there are a lot of players of that game out there. Anyways, this C3I, the main event here as far as games that are included is the Betis campaign, 211 BC. I've been really excited about this since I learned about its existence. And it's, as you can see, the C3I series of Volume 3. Game designed by Dan Forney, who I believe does a lot of stuff for Worthington, if I'm not mistaken, and also some C3I stuff. His Ancients stuff is all really good. He's done a lot of supplemental scenarios for Great Battles of History and so forth. So I wanted to go through really quickly what you get in this year's issue of C3I. It's shipping now. I'm really excited about this. So obviously we've got the magazine, full color magazine, lots of stuff. Here's an article about Gettysburg, Mark Herman's Gettysburg, which is related to Betis campaign, as we'll talk about in a moment. Here's some of the Empire of the Sun stuff, just so you can see, if you've never read C3I, what's in here. This is a big article that Volko wrote about denial and deception in war games and hidden information, and I'm going to read that. It's probably going to be really interesting if you're an aspiring designer to hear his thoughts about that. He's got a really good mind for modeling. There's a variant for Red Flag over Paris called the censorship variant. There's the rules for that, and a whole bunch of other good stuff. Some Twilight Struggle materials. Here's an article about Russian campaign and so forth. So it's out now. Go check it out. But I wanted to get to the meat of what is in this package. And first of all, the Betis campaign. So what this is the rule book, by the way. Here you can see the terrain effects chart and the sequence of play. I believe it's 20-something pages. Pretty hefty booklet for what is essentially a magazine game. But what this is Dan Forney's take on Mark Herman's, I guess you would call it, I don't know what the system is called, but so Gettysburg, Waterloo campaign, and the recently released Rebel Fury, that system that he created, which is really easy to play, very rules light, very simple, but very compelling maneuver-oriented system. And this is about the Betis campaign of 211 BC between Rome and Carthage in Spain, I believe. And that's super exciting to me because I really like the system. Waterloo campaign is a really great game. I haven't played Rebel Fury yet, but I'm excited to play it. It looks quite good. And obviously, when you take anything to the Ancients period, I'm going to be all about it. So that's what this is. This is a game of Ancients operational maneuver in Hispania in 211 BC during the Punic Wars. So this is the rule book. It's not a hard system to learn if you haven't played it. It's quite playable and really strategic, like head-to-head. So I'm excited to play it head-to-head with someone. Let me spread out the map and show you what that looks like. So here's the map for the Betis campaign. You can see the river, the Betis River here, and we've got some Roman castra. Here's a town, it looks like, Isturgi. Roman castra here. We've got the roads, got some sort of scrub terrain as you would expect from Hispania, and then the Roman player will sit on that side, and there's a turn track, as you can see. Turn record track, looks like it's a 5-turn game, so probably comparable to Gettysburg in terms of length. And here is, you're going to be tracking, each side is going to get a certain number of moves and attacks every turn once the other player has passed, so you track that there. We got victory points. In general, really well done. Looks like something, matches up really well with Great Battles of History, actually. The game also comes with a couple of player aids that have the sequence of play and the terrain effects on one side, which is super useful. And on the other side, it's nice that they put 2 of these in here. Combat summary, it's basically a comparative die roll system where you look at the difference between 2 die rolls. There's some optional random rules here. There's this is new. Celtiberi Knight Desertion, and then bribing, which is new to the system, which is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And then here's the victory points you're going to get mostly for eliminating enemy units and commanders, but also probably some geographic victory points as well. I'm very excited to play this game. I believe Hannibal's cousins or nephews or brothers potentially were involved in this campaign. Full-size map, and we'll look at the counters in a bit when I get to the counter sheet. But for me, this is why I pre-ordered, because I'm very, very excited to play this. The other reason I pre-ordered C3i 37 was for this game here, The Spanish Road. This is a solitaire game designed by Daniel Hernandez Iniesta. And this originally, I think, made its debut at BiotaCon or some European convention that he brought it to, and I guess C3i picked it up. But what it's about, and I'll show you the map. It's a small map, and I really love the style. So it's about the Spanish Road during the 30 Years' War, and the Spanish Road was basically the supply link between Lombardy in northern Italy and the Spanish possessions there, and Flanders in the Spanish Netherlands, and sort of the the logistical challenges of marching an army from southern Europe to northern Europe through all of this potentially hostile terrain, the politics of all the different duchies and nations that didn't want Spain to do that, and how they managed to achieve this impressive logistical feat. So that's such a great topic. I think it's really interesting. And if you play any games about sort of the Spanish Empire and you look at what they held in Europe, it is extremely, extremely impressive that they held so much so far apart from one another and managed to keep it together for so long. So a game about that is a really great topic, I feel like. That's such an interesting look at the Spanish Empire. And so it's a solitaire game. You got the rule book here. It's 7 pages of rules, and it basically just walks you through each of the phases of the game. You're going to have pieces, and you're going to be moving them. And there's different phases of the game, so you're going to take operations, and then there might be some attacks from hostile kingdoms. The papacy will play a role here. I'm very excited to play this. I'm probably going to play this for the channel because it doesn't look like it's going to take too long, and I want to show people how it's done. I think it's really nice. The artwork on this is super nice, and it was super cool that we got a second game in C3i this year, a solo game that looks quite interesting. So that's the Spanish Road. That's reason number 2 that I pre-ordered this issue of C3i. But it gets even better. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a variant for Red Flag over Paris in this issue. It's called the censorship variant. Comes with 2 small player aids, which will fit in the box, which is a really nice touch. Gives you the rules, reminders, and some of the stuff for that. You can read more about that in the magazine. And it also comes with the cards that you would need to play this variant. Now, these punch out. They're printed on sort of a thicker cardstock, so they're probably not going to be as thick as the cards in the game, but if you sleeve the game, it'd be no problem to put these into it. And so you just punch these out. You've got some new cards for Red Flag over Paris if that's something you're really interested in. I've played the game. I think it's interesting. I want to play it some more. As like a quick playing card game, the multiple victory dimensions are quite interesting. And so I'd like to play it some more. And this variant, from what I understand, is sort of takes the game sort of to a next level in that, like, the censorship variant might be the definitive way to play. I don't know, but we'll find out when I get a chance. Wouldn't be C3i without a new scenario for Great Battles of History. This is the Battle of Castulo, 211 BC. I think that pairs nicely with the Betis campaign, same year. This is a scenario card for SPQR Deluxe, so if you own that game, you should have, you'll get this with the magazine, I think a couple of extra counters, but basically the whole scenario can be played with mostly existing counters. You've got the setup here and the special rules, the initial deployment, special rules, and then you've also got this scenario for simple GBOH if that's something that you play. So 2 inserts for how to play the Castulo scenario in SPQR. That's going to go in the box, and one day I will make it through all of the bonus content for SPQR. But if you're a GBOH fan, there's always usually a new scenario in C3i for one of the GBOH games. They just keep pumping them out, which is awesome. The other thing that comes in C3i are these optional Twilight Struggle cards. They're the 007 variant cards, which is kind of cool. So as you can see, they're sort of they're sort of having some fun with it here. So GoldenEye, for example, draw 1 card from your opponent's hand. If card is yours, you score 2 victory points, and then you must kiss your opponent, which is pretty funny. Be great to play with like a partner if they're into Twilight Struggle. So what you do is you choose one of these cards and you put it in the deck at the beginning of the game, and you get a little bit of 007 flavor. Kind of a fun thing. Obviously, tournament players are going to scoff, but Twilight Struggle is a really fun game. I feel like a gateway game for people who don't play war games to play war games, and this could add a little bit of a romantic twist if you're playing with a partner or whatnot. So this comes as well, same card stock as the C3i ones, so you'll have to sleeve them, but kind of a neat inclusion. And as if we didn't have enough content in the magazine this year, we do also get a third game, and that is James Dunnigan's Drive on Mets 1944. Now, I am not sure if this is a re-release of an older game. I flipped through. I wasn't really wargaming or even potentially alive when Jim Dunnigan was designing games back in the day. But so this may be a re-implementation or it may be a slice of an existing game. But as you can see, it is Patton's advance on the city of Metz here in northeast France. And this is a pretty svelte little game. Looks like it's a 7-turn game. You've got everything you need to play it on this tiny map. It's basically one panel of a map plus the player right here. And then you've got the rule book. I believe this is a head-to-head game. I don't believe it's solo. I believe this is just a straight old-school Hex Encounter World War II game. But like I said, pretty svelte in terms of number of pages of rules. It looks like it's, 7 pages. So looks like maybe a reprint of a classic. This will be a fun one to take, like if I'm traveling. Get a nice little crunchy little war game on the table that maybe has a pedigree to it. So this is the third and final game in C3i. So as you can see, you're getting a ton of value out of the price point of this magazine, which is really, really impressive. I mean, if this is the new standard going forward, you can be sure that I will be ordering it every year. But we're not done. Let's take a look at the counters, because that's really, I think, the sexiest part of this magazine is that it comes with a counter sheet, and a majority of it's going to be for games that are in this issue, but it also comes with counters for other games as well. So here we go. Here's the counter sheet for this year's C3i. So they've nicely started sort of grouping the counters with labels in a more sort of intuitive way than in the past, so you know what goes to what. Here's the Betis campaign counters. As you can see, very small number of counters. You've got your units for the Roman and Carthaginian factions, and then some markers. I believe these are probably the leaders. Yeah, got Gnaeus Scipio, Publius Scipio, Hasdrubal and Gisgo, and Mago. So yeah, so this is going to be all for Betis campaign. Then we've got the so in last year's issue there was a light troops rules variant for skirmishers for Great Battles of History. This is going to add, I believe, skirmishers into SPQR Deluxe. Last year I think was Julius Caesar. So we've got some skirmishing units for Numidians and Balearics, and looks like some other stuff. And then here we've got the units you're going to need to play the Castula scenario if you own SPQR Deluxe. Looks like some Roman legionaries and a couple of barbarian leaders. Down here we've got some errata counters for Army Group Center if you own that game. It's pretty nice of them to do that. This, I believe, is this is a Gettysburg counter. I'm not sure. This might be a marker for the Mark Herman Gettysburg game. This is a sharpshooters counter. There's an article about this in the magazine. I think this might be an optional rule, but I believe this goes to that. And it's just a sharpshooters marker as a reminder to see which units are sharpshooters. Oh, it's Rebel Fury. That's what it is. It's the Rebel Fury Gettysburg scenario, because then we've got a bunch of Rebel Fury Gettysburg counters. So if you own Rebel Fury and you wanted sort of a Gettysburg scenario, I guess, or maybe, I don't know if this goes to the Gettysburg game. I'm really confused. I should probably look this up. Anyways, they look like the size of the Gettysburg counters. So maybe they go in Rebel Fury, potentially. Maybe it's a variant for the Gettysburg thing. Here we've got one Junker 88 counter for the Russian campaign. And then all of these are going to be for Spanish Road, and I really like the counter design here. It matches the map quite nicely. So these are Spanish Road. This is a Normandy 44 variant, which includes some German recon and mechanized units and some brigade fortresses. Not sure where the rules for that is. They could be in the magazine this year. I didn't look through it too closely to see, but that would be if you have a Normandy 44 and you want to play that variant. And then finally down here, we've got the counters for Drive on Metz. So this was the game I just showed you, Jim Dunnigan's Drive on Metz. As you can see, very low counter density. 9 for the Germans, 10 for the Americans. And then I guess a couple more SS over here, so 11 for the Germans. So victory point markers, some air. So normally you get a lot of counters for other games on this as well, but this year, with so much material packaged in with the magazine, it's basically all the games that come with it. But really nicely done. I feel like they use the same printer that GMT uses, because the counters are really thick and they punch really easily. It's that brown core. I'm going to get this all punched and bagged and put together so that I can play some of this stuff immediately. But anyways, that was C3i 37. I think if you're looking for an intro to like what C3i offers, at least from a in-game content perspective, this is a really good one to start with. The articles may be hit and miss depending on what you're interested in, but if you do like sort of game design and variant stuff and the Pacific in World War II, there's a lot to like sink into and sit down for an evening of reading with this. So there you go. That's what it is. We will be back shortly with some more content. Haven't decided what order I'm going to do it in, but I promise I'm going to get to my best of 2023. I promise. Okay, quick addendum. I did discover what these counters are for. So if you own the C3i Gettysburg game, Mark Herman's Gettysburg, these are just an alternate set of counters if you want the game to look like Rebel Fury. So they did it with the Rebel Fury art. That's what those are for. The Normandy 44 variant counters, these are for the variant that was found in C3i Magazine number 35. So if you have that, that's how you use these, and they come on this counter sheet. Boom, there you go. I figured it out.